Lisa Kane crawled through the metal air vent of the alien ship. Her knees hurt from the sharp edges and sweat dripped from her face. The plasma rifle on her back felt heavy and useless. 20 minutes ago, the weapon had worked fine. Now it was dead metal and plastic. The ship around her made strange sounds, clicks and hums that no human machine ever made. Through the vent grates, she could see alien warriors walking the halls. They were huge, 8 feet tall with thick green skin that looked like armor. Their hands ended in claws that could cut through steel. These were Zephyrians, and they were winning the war. Below the ship, the human colony of New Haven was burning. The Zephyrian fleet had come without warning. Their weapons turned buildings to ash in seconds. Thousands of people were dead already. More would die if Lisa failed her mission. Captain Jake Morrison had sent her team to stop this ship. Morrison was leading his own group to the engine room. Lisa's job was simple. Get to the bridge, shut down the weapons, save the colony. But nothing was simple when your rifle stopped working. Lisa reached a junction in the vent system. She could go left toward the bridge or right toward the armory. Her training said get a new weapon first. But her gut said the bridge was more important. Every second she waited, more people died below. She went left. The vent opened into a corridor lined with glowing blue panels. Lisa dropped down quietly and looked around. The walls curved in a way that hurt her eyes. Everything was too tall, built for creatures much bigger than humans. The air smelled like metal and something else. Something that reminded her of snakes. Footsteps echoed from around the corner. Heavy boots on metal floor. Lisa pressed herself against the wall and waited. 3 Zephyrian soldiers came into view. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their heads turned left and right as they walked. Hunting. Lisa studied them like her father had taught her. Dad was a Marine drill instructor before the war started. He always said the same thing. Weapons don't make you dangerous, Lisa. Your brain makes you dangerous. Everything else is just tools. The first Zephyrian was the biggest. A leader, probably. He held his weapon loose, not expecting trouble. The other 2 stayed behind him, watching his back. Smart tactics, but they moved like they owned the place. Confident, maybe too confident. Lisa noticed something important. The aliens were strong and tough, but they were also slow. Their heavy bodies took time to change direction. Their thick armor made noise when they moved, and they walked like they had never been hunted before. The patrol passed her hiding spot. Lisa waited until they were 20 feet away, then she moved. Not toward them, but away. She had spotted something when they walked by. A control panel on the wall. The symbols were alien, but the design made sense. Red probably meant danger. Blue probably meant normal, and yellow probably meant warning. Lisa touched the yellow section. Lights began flashing in the corridor behind the patrol. All 3 Zephyrians turned and ran toward the alarm. Just as Lisa had hoped, she moved quickly now. The corridor stretched ahead, leading deeper into the ship. More panels lined the walls. Lisa began to understand the pattern. The aliens built everything the same way. Control panels every 50 feet. Emergency systems marked in red. Basic design that worked the same everywhere. Another patrol appeared ahead. This time 4 soldiers. Lisa ducked into a side passage and watched them pass. She was learning their habits. They moved in groups. They followed set paths. They expected to fight other soldiers with weapons, not a human with empty hands. The side passage led to a larger room. Lisa found herself in what looked like a dining area. Tables and chairs built for 8-foot-tall warriors. Food that looked like raw meat sitting on metal plates. The smell was terrible, but Lisa forced herself to search the room. In the corner, she found what she needed. A maintenance access panel. Lisa pried it open with her combat knife. Inside were cables, pipes, and connections, all labeled with the same alien symbol she was starting to recognize. Lisa smiled for the first time since boarding the ship. Her father had been an engineer before he became a Marine. He taught her that all machines work the same way. They needed power, control, and connections. Cut the right wire and the biggest machine became useless. She studied the panel for 5 minutes. The red cables carried power. The blue ones carried information. The yellow ones were safety systems. Lisa began to form a plan. Voices echoed from the corridor. More patrols looking for her. The alarm she had triggered was bringing guards from all over the ship. But that was good. The more guards looking for her here, the fewer protecting the bridge. Lisa closed the panel and moved toward the corridor. She needed to reach the next level, but the main passages would be full of enemies now. She looked up at the ceiling and saw another vent opening. Back into the crawl space she went. This time she moved with purpose. The bridge was 3 levels up and toward the front of the ship. She had studied the ship's layout during the approach. Every human soldier had memorized the basic design. As she crawled, Lisa heard the aliens below talking in their harsh language. They sounded angry, frustrated. They were looking for an enemy with weapons and finding nothing. They didn't understand that the most dangerous human weapon was the human mind. Lisa reached another vent opening and looked down. She was above a weapons storage room. Racks of alien rifles lined the walls. Energy weapons that could kill a human with one shot. But they were all locked in place, protected by force fields. More importantly, Lisa could see the room's main power coupling. A thick cable that fed energy to this entire section of the ship. If she could cut that cable, half the ship would go dark. The aliens would be blind and she could reach the bridge easily. But the cable was 20 feet below her and the room was full of security sensors. Lisa needed a distraction. She needed the aliens to think the attack was coming from somewhere else. Lisa smiled again. She had an idea. Lisa dropped from the vent into the weapons room. Her boots hit the floor softly, but the security sensors started beeping right away. Red lights flashed on the walls. She had maybe 30 seconds before guards arrived. The power cable was as thick as her arm. Her combat knife would take too long to cut through it. Lisa looked around the room and saw something better. An alien weapon rack with an energy coupling. She pulled her knife and jammed it into the coupling. Sparks flew everywhere. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, but it was dim and red. Lisa heard shouts from the corridor outside. The guards were coming. She climbed back into the vent just as the door burst open. 5 Zephyrian soldiers rushed in with their weapons ready. They found an empty room with a cut power line. No human, no threat they could fight. Lisa was already moving through the vents toward the next level. The emergency lighting gave her enough light to see. Half the ship was running on backup power now. The aliens would have to choose what systems to keep running. Weapons, life support, or engines. They couldn't power everything. She found another opening and looked down into a corridor. This level was different. Bigger rooms, wider hallways. More important. Lisa dropped down and started moving toward the bridge. The first guard she met was alone. A single Zephyrian checking the security systems. He was 8 feet tall and strong enough to break her spine with one hand. But he was also slow and predictable. Lisa had been watching these aliens for hours now. She knew how they moved. When they turned their heads, they turned their whole body. When they raised their weapons, they stood straight up. They fought like creatures that had never needed to worry about smaller, faster enemies. The guard spotted her and raised his weapon. Lisa was already moving. She dove to the side as the energy blast hit the wall behind her. The weapon made a high whining sound as it recharged. 3 seconds between shots. Lisa used those 3 seconds. She rolled behind a support beam and then kept moving. The guard tried to track her, but his heavy body turned too slowly. By the time he had a clear shot, Lisa was somewhere else. She kept moving in a circle around him. The guard got angry and started shooting faster. His shots went wide. The weapon overheated and shut down automatically. Safety feature to prevent explosions. Now the guard was holding a useless piece of metal. Lisa came at him from his blind side. She jumped onto his back and found the gap between his neck armor and helmet. Her knife went in deep. The alien dropped without a sound. Lisa took his weapon, but it was still too hot to fire. The safety systems were locked. She dropped it and kept moving. The knife was better anyway, quiet, always ready, and it never ran out of power. The corridor ahead split into 3 directions. Left led to crew quarters, right led to the engine room where Morrison's team was fighting. Straight ahead led to the bridge. Lisa went straight. She found herself in what looked like a medical bay. Strange machines lined the walls. Tables built for alien bodies, and something that looked like computer terminals showing alien anatomy. Lisa stopped to study the displays. Her father had taught her that knowing your enemy was more important than any weapon. The screens showed Zephyrian bodies from the inside. Bone structure, muscle groups, vital organs. She memorized everything she could. The aliens had thick skin, but their joints were just as weak as human joints. Their neck vertebrae could be dislocated with the right pressure. Their eyes were protected by bone ridges, but the ridges created blind spots. Most important, she learned where their pressure points were, spots where human fingers could find nerve clusters, places where a small amount of force could cause big damage. Footsteps in the corridor outside. Lisa hid behind one of the medical tables and waited. Two guards walked past, talking in their harsh language. They sounded worried, upset. The power failure was causing problems all over the ship. After they passed, Lisa moved to the next room. This one was full of computers and communication equipment. She could hear voices speaking in different alien languages, reports from other ships in the fleet. Lisa couldn't understand the words, but she could understand the tone. The aliens were confused. Their flagship was having problems. Systems were failing. An enemy was loose inside their ship, but they couldn't find it. She found a terminal that showed ship schematics. The bridge was 2 levels up and protected by multiple security doors. Each door required special codes to open. But there was another way, a maintenance shaft that led directly to the bridge's power systems. Lisa memorized the route and then did something that would drive the aliens crazy. She started changing settings on random computers. Nothing dangerous, just small adjustments that would cause confusion later. Wrong coordinates here, altered communication frequencies there. By the time the aliens figured out what she had done, they would be getting conflicting information from their own systems. Their coordination would break down. Ships would lose contact with each other. Lisa moved toward the maintenance shaft. On the way, she passed another weapons locker. This one was not protected by force fields. She took 3 alien grenades and clipped them to her belt, not because she planned to use them as explosives, but because she was starting to understand alien technology. Everything could be a tool if you knew how to use it. The maintenance shaft was cramped even for a human. Lisa crawled through pipes and cables toward the bridge. She could hear voices above her. Alien officers giving orders. They sounded stressed. Lisa reached a junction where power cables split off in different directions. One set went to weapons control, another went to navigation, a third went to life support, and the biggest cable went straight up to the bridge. She pulled out one of the alien grenades and studied it. The design was simple: a power source, a timer, and an explosive charge. But if she removed the explosive and rewired the power source, she could create an electromagnetic pulse, a small one, but strong enough to disrupt electronics. Lisa worked quickly. Her father had taught her basic electronics along with combat skills. A Marine needs to know how things work before she can break them properly, he used to say. She attached her improvised device to the bridge power cable and set the timer for 5 minutes. Then she crawled back toward the main corridor. She wanted to be in position when the bridge lost power. The corridor outside the bridge was heavily guarded. 6 Zephyrian soldiers in full armor, all carrying weapons, all watching for enemies. But they were watching the wrong directions. Lisa found a position above them in the ceiling access space. When her device triggered, the bridge would go dark. The guards would be confused, and she would have maybe 10 seconds to get inside before backup power restored the lights. She waited. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. The guards were getting reports on their communication devices. Other problems throughout the ship. Missing patrols. Damaged systems. They were starting to realize that their enemy was not a normal soldier. 1 minute. Lisa gripped her knife and got ready to move. Everything depended on timing now. Too slow and the guards would react. Too fast and she would face them in full light. The device triggered. Every light in the corridor went out. The guards shouted in surprise. In the darkness, Lisa dropped from the ceiling and moved toward the bridge door. She had 10 seconds, maybe less, time to find out if human hands really were deadlier than any blade. The bridge door slammed shut behind Lisa just as the emergency lights came back on. She found herself in a room full of alien officers and computer screens. The Zephyrians turned toward her surprised. They had expected many things, but not a single human female with only a knife. The bridge commander was the biggest alien Lisa had ever seen. His armor was decorated with symbols that probably meant high rank. He roared something in his language and pointed at her. The other officers reached for their weapons. Lisa moved before they could draw. She grabbed the nearest officer and used him as a shield. Her knife found the gap in his neck armor. The alien dropped and Lisa was already moving to the next target. The bridge was full of computer terminals and control panels. Lisa used them for cover as energy blasts flew past her head. She rolled behind a navigation station and came up behind another officer. Another quick strike, another dead alien. The remaining officers tried to surround her, but the bridge was designed for their size, not their tactics. The terminals and screens blocked their shots. Lisa used their own workspace against them. She reached the weapons control station and started hitting buttons. She couldn't read the alien language, but she understood the results. Warning lights flashed red all over the ship. The main guns stopped firing at the colony below. The bridge commander roared again and charged at her. Lisa dove under his claws and slashed at his ankle. Her knife cut through the armor joint. The big alien stumbled but didn't fall. Lisa rolled away and grabbed a piece of broken computer equipment. She threw it at the alien's head. Not to hurt him, but to distract him. While he was swatting at the debris, Lisa attacked his other ankle. This time the commander fell. 8 feet of muscle and armor crashed into a control panel. Sparks flew everywhere. More systems went offline. The last 2 officers were trying to call for help on their communication devices. Lisa couldn't let them succeed. She threw her knife at the first officer. The blade hit him in the throat. He dropped his communicator and fell. The final officer managed to get a message out before Lisa reached him. Help was coming. She had maybe 2 minutes before guards broke down the bridge door. Lisa looked around the bridge and saw something that made her smile. An emergency lockdown switch. If she activated it, the bridge would seal itself. The guards outside would need heavy cutting tools to get in. She hit the switch. Metal barriers dropped over the doors and windows. Now she was trapped inside, but so were the bridge systems. She had time to really damage this ship. Lisa went to work on the control panels. She couldn't read the alien language, but she understood cause and effect. Pull this cable and the navigation system went dead. Smash this screen and communications failed. Break this connection, and the artificial gravity started fluctuating. But the real prize was the main computer core. A column of crystal and metal in the center of the bridge. If she could damage that, the entire ship would be crippled. The problem was getting to it. The core was protected by an energy field. Touch the field and you got fried. But Lisa had learned something important about alien technology. It all followed the same basic rules. She found the power coupling for the energy field. It was hidden behind an access panel, but her knife worked as a screwdriver. Inside were the same color-coded cables she had seen everywhere else on the ship. Red for power, blue for data, yellow for safety. Lisa cut the red cable. The energy field disappeared. She approached the computer core carefully. It was beautiful in a way, like a giant gemstone filled with flowing light. But beauty didn't matter now. Only stopping this ship mattered. Lisa raised her knife and drove it into the core. Crystal shattered. Light died. The entire bridge went dark except for emergency lighting. Outside, she could hear the guards trying to cut through the blast doors. The metal was thick, but alien cutting tools were powerful. They would get through eventually. Lisa needed to leave, but first she had one more job. The ship's communication system was still partially working. She could send a message to the human fleet. Tell them what she had learned. She found a working terminal and managed to access the communication array. The alien interface was confusing, but she figured out the basics. She recorded a message for Captain Morrison and the fleet commander. This is Sergeant Kane. The bridge is destroyed, but the ship is still dangerous. The aliens are stronger than us, but they're also predictable. They've never fought an enemy that thinks like we do. Use that against them. Turn their own ship systems into weapons. Hit-and-run tactics. Make them afraid of the dark. She sent the message and then smashed the terminal. No point in letting the aliens know what she had told the human fleet. The cutting sounds outside were getting louder. Lisa looked around for another way out. The blast barriers covered the doors, but they didn't cover the ventilation system. She could get back into the ducts and escape deeper into the ship. But first she wanted to leave the aliens a message of her own. Using her knife, Lisa carved words into the metal wall of the bridge. Human letters that the aliens would have to get translated. The message was simple. One human did this.
How many more are coming?
She climbed into the air vent just as the first blast door started to buckle. The guards would break through in another minute. They would find their bridge destroyed and their computer core shattered. And they would know that a single human soldier had done it all. Lisa crawled through the ducts toward the lower levels. She could hear chaos throughout the ship. Alarms were ringing. Officers were shouting orders. Emergency repairs were starting, but she also heard something else. Fear. The aliens were starting to understand that they weren't fighting a normal enemy. Humans didn't follow the rules of warfare that other species used. Humans adapted. Humans improvised. Humans turned everything into a weapon. Lisa found a vent opening and looked down into a corridor. A patrol of alien soldiers was searching room by room. They moved carefully now, checking every shadow. The confident swagger was gone. They were hunters, but now they felt like prey. Lisa smiled and kept crawling. The bridge was just the beginning. This ship had thousands of systems she could sabotage, hundreds of places she could strike from hiding. And every attack would make the aliens more afraid, more confused, more likely to make mistakes. She reached a junction in the vent system and heard voices below. Two alien officers talking in worried tones. Lisa couldn't understand their language, but she caught one word that had been repeated throughout the ship. Ghost. That's what they were calling her. The ghost in their machine. The enemy that struck without warning and vanished without trace. The human who killed with her hands and disappeared into the shadows. Lisa liked that name. Let them be afraid of ghosts. Let them jump at every sound and check every corner twice. Fear was just another weapon, and she was learning to use them all. She chose a direction and kept moving through the ducts. The ship was huge, but she was patient. She had time to learn every passage, every system, every weakness. The aliens thought they were the hunters. They were about to learn what it meant to be hunted by a human who had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The ghost was just getting started. War Prince Thakron stood in his private chamber staring at reports from across his ship. In 6 hours, one human had killed 37 of his warriors and crippled half his ship's systems. His officers called her the Ghost, but Thakron knew better. Ghosts didn't leave knife marks in metal walls. The door chimed and his second-in-command entered. Commander Vextar was young for his rank, but he had proven himself in many battles. Now he looked shaken. "My prince, we have lost contact with Engineering Section 7. The patrol sent to investigate has not reported back." "How many warriors?" "5, my prince." "All veterans?" Thakron's claws scraped against the metal desk. "5 more warriors dead, probably." This human was not just killing his crew. She was destroying their morale. His soldiers jumped at shadows now. They requested backup for routine patrols. They were becoming afraid. "Double all patrols. No warrior goes anywhere alone. And seal off the ventilation system. Use welding torches if necessary." "We tried that, my prince. She cuts new openings. She uses our own tools against us." Thakron roared in frustration. Every solution created new problems. Block the vents and she used maintenance passages. Guard the maintenance passages and she found new routes. It was like fighting smoke. "Bring me Commander Zexler from the armory and gather my personal guard. If we cannot trap this human, we will hunt her ourselves." An hour later, Thakron led a hunting party of 12 warriors through the ship's corridors. His personal guard were the best fighters in the fleet. Each one had killed dozens of enemies in combat. But they had never faced anything like this human. They moved through the ship methodically, checking every room and passage. The warriors were nervous. They had found the bodies of their comrades throughout the ship. Some had been killed with the human's knife. Others had died in accidents that were clearly not accidents. Crushed by falling equipment, electrocuted by damaged power systems, poisoned by leaking coolant. The human was not just a killer. She was an engineer of death. They reached the armory on Deck 5. Commander Zexler was waiting with bad news. "My prince, someone has been in the weapon storage chambers. Nothing is missing, but the magnetic containment systems have been tampered with. If these weapons are fired now, they will explode in the user's hands." Thakron examined the damaged systems. The work was precise, professional. The human understood their technology better than some of his own engineers. "How is this possible?" "These weapons are protected by quantum locks. She used our own maintenance tools, my prince. The same tools we use for repairs. She turned them into weapons of sabotage." A sound echoed from somewhere above them, metal scraping against metal. All 12 warriors raised their weapons toward the ceiling. "She's in the ducts again," Zexler whispered. "Then we end this now." Thakron pointed to his warriors. "You 4 guard the exits. You 4 watch the vents. The rest of us will flush her out." They spread out through the armory, weapons ready. The sound came again, closer this time. Something was moving through the air system directly above them. Suddenly, every weapon rack in the room activated at once. Magnetic fields fluctuated wildly. Energy weapons began to overload. The warriors looked at their prince in confusion. "She's controlling our own security systems," Thakron realized. "Everyone out." Now too late. The first weapon exploded like a small bomb. Then another. Then another. The chain reaction spread through the entire armory. Warriors screamed as their own weapons turned against them. Lisa dropped from a ceiling vent in the middle of the chaos. She landed between two alien warriors who were trying to escape the exploding weapons. Her knife found the first warrior's throat before he could turn around. She rolled away from the second warrior's claws and came up behind a weapon rack. The rack was magnetic, designed to hold energy weapons in place. Lisa grabbed the control panel and reversed the magnetic field. Instead of holding weapons, the rack began pulling in anything metal, including the alien warrior's armor. Two warriors were yanked against the rack and held there by magnetic force. They couldn't move, couldn't escape. Lisa's knife finished them quickly. Thakron watched his elite guards die one by one. The human moved like water, flowing around their attacks, turning their own equipment against them. She fought without fear, without hesitation. Like a predator born for killing. "You!" he roared at her in broken human language. "Face me!" Lisa looked at the war prince. He was the biggest alien she had faced, 9 feet tall and covered in ceremonial armor. His claws were longer than her fingers. His teeth could bite through steel. But she had learned something important about these aliens. They were strong, but strength could be turned into weakness. They were proud, but pride made them predictable. "You want to fight?" Lisa said. "Drop your weapons." Thakron was surprised by the request, but his warrior's honor demanded acceptance. He threw down his energy rifle and drew his ceremonial sword, a blade that had killed 100 enemies. Lisa dropped her knife and raised her empty hands. The other aliens stopped fighting to watch. This was insane. A human challenging their war prince to single combat. Without weapons, Thakron charged with a roar that shook the walls. His sword came down in an arc that would cut Lisa in half. She wasn't there. Lisa stepped aside at the last second and grabbed the alien's sword arm. Using his own momentum, she twisted and pulled. Physics did the rest. 9 feet of charging alien went flying into a wall. Thakron got up slowly, confused. No one had ever thrown him before. He swung his sword again, more carefully this time. Lisa ducked under the blade and struck at the alien's knee joint. Her fist hit the spot where the armor segments connected. Thakron stumbled but didn't fall. She hit the same spot again. And again. The armor joint cracked. The war prince's leg buckled. Now Lisa went on the attack. She had studied alien anatomy in the medical bay. She knew where their pressure points were, where their joints were weakest. She struck with surgical precision. A finger strike to the nerve cluster in his neck. A palm strike to dislocate his shoulder. A knee strike to collapse his other leg. Thakron fell to his knees, his sword dropping from nerveless fingers. He stared at the human in disbelief. She had defeated him without using a single weapon. How? He gasped in his own language. Lisa picked up his ceremonial sword. It was heavy, designed for alien hands, but it would serve her purpose. "Because I'm human," she said. "We turn everything into a weapon, even our own bodies." She raised the sword and brought it down on the armory's main power coupling. Sparks flew everywhere as the ship's weapon systems went completely offline. The remaining alien warriors stood frozen. Their war prince was defeated. Their weapons were dead, and the human ghost was still alive. Lisa looked around the ruined armory and smiled. The ship was crippled now. No weapons, no communications, no navigation. But she wasn't done yet. There was still the engine room where Captain Morrison was fighting. And there were still aliens who thought humans could be conquered. Time to prove them wrong. Lisa left the ruined armory behind and made her way toward the engine room. The ship felt different now, quieter. The constant hum of weapon systems had stopped. Emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls. She found Captain Morrison's team pinned down in a corridor 3 levels below. Energy blasts flew back and forth between human marines and alien defenders. Morrison saw her coming and shouted over the noise of battle. "Kane, where the hell have you been? We've been stuck here for 2 hours." "Taking the long way around," Lisa replied. She studied the alien positions. 12 warriors behind cover, blocking the approach to the engine room. Too many to fight directly, but Lisa had learned to think differently. "Give me 5 minutes, then attack on my signal." Before Morrison could ask questions, Lisa was gone. She climbed back into the ventilation system and made her way around the alien position. The engine room was massive, full of pipes and machinery that generated power for the entire ship. Lisa found what she was looking for: the main coolant system that kept the engines from overheating. If she could disrupt the coolant flow, the aliens would have to choose between fighting Morrison's team or saving their engines. She pulled out her last alien grenade and rewired it like before. Instead of an explosive, She turned it into a timer device. She attached it to the coolant valve and set it for 3 minutes. Then she made her way to the secondary power coupling that controlled artificial gravity in this section. Another improvised device, another timer. This one set for 2 minutes. Lisa climbed back through the ducts toward Morrison's position. She reached a vent opening above the alien defenders and waited. The gravity device triggered first. Suddenly, all the aliens started floating toward the ceiling. Their heavy bodies became weightless. Their careful defensive positions turned into chaos. Morrison saw his chance and attacked. His Marines charged forward while the aliens struggled with zero gravity. But Lisa wasn't done. The coolant device triggered next. Alarms started screaming throughout the ship. The engine room began to overheat. The alien defenders had to choose between fighting the humans or saving their ship. Half of them broke off to deal with the engine emergency. The other half tried to fight Morrison's team while floating in midair. It was no contest. Lisa dropped from the vent behind the remaining aliens. Her knife found targets that couldn't dodge in zero gravity. Within minutes, the corridor was clear. Morrison's team secured the engine room while alien engineers desperately tried to restart the coolant system. The ship was dead in space now. No weapons, no power, no navigation. "Kane, what did you do to this ship?" Morrison asked. "I taught them that humans don't fight fair," Lisa replied. "We use whatever works." Morrison's radio crackled with reports from the fleet outside. The other alien ships had stopped attacking. They were sending messages on all frequencies, trying to communicate. "They want to talk," Morrison said. "Probably surrender terms." But Lisa was thinking about something bigger. The aliens had never encountered a species like humanity before. They thought in terms of strength versus strength, weapon versus weapon. They didn't understand creativity, adaptability, or the human ability to turn anything into a tool. "This isn't just about one battle," she said. "This is about showing them what we really are." News of the battle spread through both fleets. The human forces realized they had been thinking too small. They didn't need better weapons to fight the aliens. They needed to fight like humans. On the alien ships, commanders struggled to understand what had happened. How had a single human warrior defeated an entire battle cruiser? How had she killed their best fighters with nothing but a knife in her bare hands? War Prince Thakron, recovering from his injuries in the medical bay, tried to explain it to his fleet commander. "They are not like other species," he said weakly. "They do not fight with claws or fangs or natural weapons. They fight with their minds. They turn everything around them into a weapon." The fleet commander stared at the tactical reports. One human had crippled the flagship, killed dozens of warriors, and shown that Zephyrian military superiority was an illusion. "What do you recommend?" the commander asked. "Retreat," Thakron said. "We are not ready to fight this species. We thought we were hunting prey. Instead, we found predators." The alien fleet began to withdraw from human space, but the war was far from over. Both sides now understood what they were really fighting. Lisa stood on the bridge of the captured alien ship and watched the enemy fleet retreat. Morrison joined her, along with the rest of the human strike teams. "Think they'll be back?" Morrison asked. "Oh, they'll be back," Lisa said. "But next time they'll be ready for us, and we'll be ready for them." She looked at her hands. No weapons, no special equipment, just human hands guided by a human mind. Her father had been right. The weapon didn't make the warrior. The warrior made the weapon. Captain Danny Cruz's voice came over the radio from the human fleet. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Excellent work today. The colony is saved, and we've captured valuable intelligence about alien technology." But Lisa knew the real victory was something else. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was not just another species to be conquered. They were something new, something that could adapt, improvise, and overcome any challenge. The aliens had evolved as predators on worlds where strength and natural weapons determined survival. Humans had evolved on a world where intelligence and creativity were the ultimate weapons. "You know what this means, don't you?" Morrison said. Lisa nodded. "It means the rules of warfare just changed. The aliens will have to learn to fight like we do, or they'll lose every battle." She thought about all the human colonies scattered across space, all the people who had lived in fear of alien invasion. They didn't need to be afraid anymore. Humanity had found its strength, not in bigger guns or stronger armor, but in the human ability to see solutions where others saw only problems, to turn any situation into an advantage, to make weapons out of whatever was at hand. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Lisa made a promise to herself. She would teach other humans what she had learned. How to fight without relying on technology, how to turn an enemy's strength into weakness, how to be human in a galaxy that didn't understand what that meant. The war would continue, but it would be fought on human terms now, and that made all the difference. Lisa Kane, the ghost who had haunted an alien battlecruiser, walked off the bridge with her head held high. Her hands were still her deadliest weapons, and she was ready to teach the galaxy to fear them.